Hi everyone in Facebook land. Are our friends here today joining us for Lunchtime Live here at the Tijuana Estuary? I typically start a couple minutes early, but today it was right at noon. Having a little bit of a challenging day. I had computer problems this morning, big time. Hi Sonia, and I see Ann is watching. Some of our locals who might be tuning in for this special, it's not really a special edition, but maybe kind of like a local celebrity, the Osprey. So thank you for tuning in. Hi Mark, thank you for tuning in for Lunchtime Live here at the Tijuana Estuary. I'm standing here just on the other side of what we call the tidal linkage, this channel that separates me from the trail and the visitor center. You see the building there behind me here in Imperial Beach. And this is our regular Lunchtime Live, noon on Tuesdays. And today we are featuring the Osprey. The Osprey. So feel free to chime in with questions, comments regarding to the Osprey as we move through our program this morning, and also share any Osprey stories that you might have. Now I'm standing here outside, like I mentioned, so you can see, and we have the helicopters flying. So is it a bird? Is it a helicopter? Or is it an osprey? And hopefully maybe we'll get lucky and see one of these. We are at a low tide, which might make a difference, but let's just get right into it. Large bird, raptor type bird, and you can just thumbs up if you've seen an osprey before or have heard of an osprey. This is a fairly large bird with about a 59-inch wingspan and about 21-inch body length, weighing about 49 ounces. A relatively big bird, okay, with a lot of white. So some of the things that, the characteristics that make it identifiable is it's one of the few raptors with a lot of white on it. You can see it's got kind of a little kink in the wing, a brown sort of stripe in the face. It's got a white head. We can't see that at the moment. I'm going to be showing you a series of pictures since tough to get a real live osprey for a program like this. And when we're seeing them, often they're above us, so we see all of that white, but they have brown on the backside. So you'll have to trust me on that one as well. Now, this is a bird found all over North America, from Alaska all the way over to New England, from California to the East Coast, from Canada down into Mexico, but in particular habitats. And Tijuana Estuary and South San Diego Bay are excellent local areas to find osprey. Anyone seen an osprey before? Sorry, I didn't missing any thumbs up. By the way, I forgot to do some logistical checks. How's the sound? I've got my back to the wind, so I'm hoping it's keeping the wind noise down. All right, I know there's a delay, so okay, I see a thumbs up. Okay, not sure. Well, I guess if there was noise issues, there'd be some comments. Great sound. Thank you, Ann. Really appreciate that. So there's another good look at the osprey. Now, look at that. There's that really distinct kink in the wing. We see all that white. You see the brown on the backside, and then that white head, and then the brown stripe across the face. Okay, now look at those feet. Oops, look at those talons. Look at those talons. Okay, now four clasping talons or toes, two curved forwards and two curved backwards, making them making them very advantageous for a particular type of prey seen here. Anyone know what the primary diet of the osprey is? Does anyone know what the primary diet of the osprey is? They eat almost exclusively this particular item. Water? Mark is asking water. Oh, water is their diet? Well, they do drink a little water. There we go. And fish. They eat almost exclusively fish. The only hawk to really do that. Yes, Mark, good job. Fish. And so those talons right there, getting ready to grasp a fish. Yes, John. Yes. And apparently they have some little barbs on there as well. So that slippery fish just can't get away. So, and when they dive for fish, they can dive about 3 feet into the water. So they're going to be around shallower areas or in areas that are with deep water, but where fish swim near the surface. So they can only go about 3 feet, that's pretty good, I think, for a bird. But I've never seen one actually catch the fish, but what is commonly seen, at least what I see, although birders in the, I'm not a birder, but the birders in the group may witness this kind of this behavior, that getting ready to dive for fish. But I've seen them when I'm out and they've already got the fish and they're flying over, with the fish. So once they get the fish, there we go. This photo is courtesy of Dolores, one of our volunteers, who might be local because she has presented us with a lot of photos of osprey, and I'm going to share a couple more of her photos. But so she took this one with the osprey carrying the fish. Now, what position is it carrying that fish in? What position do we see the fish? Is it head first or tail first? This is kind of important. Let's see, I'm always like a torpedo, right? And I believe that this, I'm not an ichthyologist, but knowing what what kind of fish we have around here, this looks like a mullet, which we talked about. Let's see, and mullets are like torpedoes. Okay, Mark is saying yes, aerodynamic. Having that head in the front makes them more aerodynamic when they're flying with that fish. Let's see, Susie is saying older ospreys, when they catch a fish, can't retract their claws, and sometimes, they do drown because of the weight of the fish. Oh my goodness. Thank you for that information, but I guess I could see that, especially, if a pretty heavy fish, and if they're not strong enough, they are, that could happen. Wow. Sad, but hopefully they were a lot more successful in their younger years. Let's see, Beth is saying they always look like they're on a skateboard. Yeah, because they've got their talons kind of positioned in a way holding that fish. That's pretty good. I like that one. So then they are holding the fish, taking it somewhere to a perch where we often sometimes see them, tearing that fish apart with that hooked bill of theirs, beak of theirs. All right, so now we may see them not just in their flying over like this, but in the breeding season, the male osprey will do what's called like a sky dance, called a fish flight, where it will get 600 feet or so above the nesting area and dive down with nesting material in its talons over the nesting site. So that's pretty I guess that would be great, awesome to see. They'll maybe do this for, I think, about 10 minutes or so, and make these screaming calls. So That doesn't get an attention. I don't know what will, but and so the nest building done a lot by the male, I believe, mostly by the male. Now, the nests that they build, I mean, you may have seen them. You may have not known it was an osprey nest. You may have seen a nest just driving down the road, not the osprey in it, but large, really large nests, often on man-made structures like light posts. Light posts or sports park lights, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Big man-made structures. So they live well around humans and development. Now, where they make their nest is going to be, again, near a source of fish, so near water. But they'll go about 12 miles, a 12-mile radius in search of fish from that nest. So when they build on the nest, let's see, the nest will look like this. And we have now this may be hard to tell. This is, again, one of Dolores's photos, and what we don't see is what it's on, but it's on the lights of the lights at the sports park. So I just want to, just for a second, flip the camera and show you where that is. Right over here. So you can see right over here at the sports park, those lights, they build right on top of those. Right on top of those. I think the one, kind of the third one over. Now, it's not nesting season now. Nesting season typically starts at the, in the early spring. Let's see, Susie says Rob Field has a nest on one of the light posts. Yeah, and Susie, every time I go on that bridge, I live more up in that area between Mission Bay and Ocean Beach. Mission Beach and Ocean Beach, going across that last, that most westerly bridge, I see that osprey on that bridge. So often they're perched on these bridges over these waterways. So if you look up, you see it perched. Those white feathers giving it away. So this is a local site here on this ballpark right next to the estuary. And there's the adult osprey bringing more nesting material to build that nest. Now these nests are made with sticks, with bark, with grass, and you can see quite large, very large. They take over those lights. They're as big as those lights there, and so these nests must be very heavy. So to support the chicks. Now the female will lay 1 to 4 eggs in her clutch, and they will incubate for something like up to 42 days. 42 days, long time. Now and they don't all hatch at once. They kind of hatch every few days. So, and as the eggs have been laid, the nest will still continue to grow. That nest is huge. See, oh, there they. Hi, Dolores. Thank you for the photos. Let's see, that nest is huge on that pole. Yes, you can definitely. The nests are so easily spotted wherever I've seen one, because they're just so big, and it's a big bird. So if it has 4 eggs and they all are gonna hatch, that's 4 chicks that will, I think, stay in the nest as nestlings for something like another 55 days or up to. So that's a long time living in this nest. So that is home for quite a while, for 42 days as an egg and 55 days as a young chick born with they're born with their eyes open and with downy feathers, but they're not all born at the same time, and I think the older ones will dominate over the younger ones, and hopefully there's enough food that all four, if they have four, will survive. So the female will stay with the chicks while the male goes and gets food. And again, it will go up to a 12-mile radius to eat fish, and then bring that kind of regurgitated fish back to the nest. Let's see, right in this picture, there is one. It's tough. This was Dolores did a great job. These are taken, from quite a distance, so they're not, crystal clear. But we see one head of a chick there, and then my last photo, we can see two other chicks. They're really looking so much like the adult at this point, with the white on top, that brown stripe across the eye. They have yellow eyes. Their eyes are forward, and they have excellent depth perception. I guess, especially if the male is doing this flight dance, 600 feet in the air coming down, they need some depth perception. So yellow eyes, and with that brown eye stripe. And so we see at least two. Now, Dolores, since you're on, were these taken this last breeding season? Because this is something, that is a location that is used every year, as far as I know. Our neighbors that are on with us today, you feel like chiming in about the sports park nest, you can. Please do. I always assume it's the same Osprey pair. And that it is definitely every year. Yes, around February. Oh, okay, so you took these around February when the nesting season began. Thank you, Dolores. I really appreciate that. And we love our volunteers and our resources for images and information. So thank you. And let's see. She saw 3 babies in the nest. Okay, yeah, so pretty good. And hopefully they all survived. Now, speaking of survival, the Osprey is a success story when it comes to conservation. This was a species that in the 50s and into the 70s was one of the DDT affected bird species, right? Where through the food chain, as DDT accumulated and in these birds from the fish that they ate, their eggshells were very thin as they laid their eggs. The eggshells were very thin and they broke, and the young often did not survive, and so their numbers went down, and though as DDT was banned, this was a species that recovered fairly well. So they are not on a list for endangered or sensitive or threatened. They have really come back quite well. So they're a real success story. But yes, one of the species affected by DDT. So now this is not a bird we're seeing today. We have a relatively low. We're almost at the low tide for the day, and this channel, to my knowledge, it's not popular with Osprey. I think when I see them, they're probably coming from the river mouth area where they have caught a fish where there's a bit more open, a larger area, still shallow, and then bringing that back to the sports park, because that's definitely within a 12-mile radius. Yeah. So there you go. Thank you everyone so much. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in. I'll wait a few minutes for the delay, and I'm hoping everyone is having a wonderful day. It really turned into fall this today. At least it's not foggy, but it is a little chilly out here. So yeah, you're welcome, Chad. Chad says thank you. And Dolores is saying you can see a nest off the 5 freeway by H Street. Yep. I'll look for that one on my drive home. And I just, I see them along the Silver Strand on the light posts there. And yeah, just look up, and if you see something that looks a lot like that, that's an osprey nest. Yeah, very good. And maybe if it's in the right time of year, you may even see those little chicks. I remember when the house over by Mar Vista High School, when it had it on the palm tree, you could just see them. That was really awesome to see, because they were relatively low, and that was cool. So you're welcome, Sonia. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Jenny. And I hope everyone has a great rest of the day. And we will see you next week, hopefully, for another episode of Lunchtime Live. Bye, everyone.